Have you ever felt your life slip away in a moment? Tonight, we bring you 5 terrifying true stories where people came dangerously close to death and survived. These are not urban legends. These are real-life experiences that will haunt you. Trapped in Blue John Canyon, Aaron Ralston's 127 hours. Imagine hiking alone in a remote canyon, miles from any help, and suddenly your arm is pinned by a massive boulder. Every attempt to escape fails. This is exactly what happened to Aaron Ralston, a young adventurer whose ordinary weekend hike turned into 127 hours of pure terror and survival. It was April 26, 2003. Aaron Ralston, 27, a skilled outdoorsman, decided to explore the remote Blue John Canyon in Utah. He was confident, experienced, and loved adventure. Packing lightly, he carried just water, 2 burritos, climbing gear, and a small multi-tool. Alone, he stepped into the canyon unaware that this beautiful landscape would soon become a nightmare. As Aaron climbed through a narrow section, a large boulder shifted, pinning his right arm against the sandstone wall. The weight was estimated at 800 pounds, 363 kilos. He screamed and tried every possible way to free himself, levering, pushing, pulling. But nothing worked. He was trapped completely alone. The canyon walls echoed his desperation, and the sun began to set, casting eerie shadows over the red rocks. The first night was freezing. Without proper gear for such isolation, Aaron shivered violently. He had only a small sip of water left and some snacks. The canyon was eerily quiet except for the occasional cracking of distant rocks. He tried to stay calm, talking to himself to maintain focus, knowing that panic could cost him his life. For 5 days, Aaron endured thirst, hunger, and isolation. He rationed his small water supply, took tiny bites of burritos, and tried to chip away at the boulder. Temperatures ranged from freezing nights to scorching days. He hallucinated at times, imagining voices and shadows. In moments of clarity, he carved his name and dates into the rock, preparing for the worst. Every second was an agonizing battle of will. By the 5th day, Aaron realized there was no way out without extreme action. He made the unimaginable decision to amputate his own arm. Using the dull multi-tool, he first snapped his radius and ulnar bones against the boulder to cut through the tissue. The pain was unbearable, but his desire to live was stronger. For over an hour, he worked through agony until the arm was finally free. Even after freeing himself, the ordeal wasn't over. Using all his remaining strength, Aaron rigged a rope and rappelled 65 feet down a cliff. Then he hiked miles through rough canyon terrain, bleeding and dehydrated, until he finally found a family of hikers. They gave him water and helped him signal rescuers. A helicopter arrived and airlifted him to safety. Aaron had survived the impossible. Aaron Ralston's story is a true testament to human courage, determination, and the will to survive. He endured 127 hours trapped in a canyon, facing pain, fear, and isolation. Next time you take a hike, remember this story. Sometimes survival demands unimaginable bravery. 76 Days Adrift. Stephen Callahan's survival story. Imagine being alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, with nothing but a tiny life raft, a few fish and salt water to drink. This is the true story of Stephen Callahan, who survived 76 days adrift with nothing but courage, ingenuity, and sheer willpower. In January 1982, 29-year-old Stephen Callahan set out alone from the Canary Islands on his self-built sloop, Napoleon Solo. He was confident and experienced, dreaming of a routine transatlantic voyage. The sun sparkled off the water as he sailed into the horizon, unaware that nature was preparing a test unlike anything he had ever faced. 7 days into the voyage, a sudden violent storm struck. Waves towered over his tiny sloop. In the middle of the night, a massive collision, likely a whale, punctured the hull. Water poured in, and his boat began to sink. Stephen had only moments to act. He scrambled to deploy his inflatable life raft and grabbed whatever supplies he could carry. Stephen floated alone in the middle of the vast Atlantic with only a handful of supplies: a sleeping bag, flares, a small ration of food, a little water, fishing gear, and courage. Every wave threatened to capsize the fragile raft. He was utterly alone, hundreds of miles from the nearest shore. The endless horizon stretched before him, a blue void that seemed to swallow him whole. For 76 days, Stephen battled hunger, dehydration, storms, and isolation. He improvised fishing with a spear gun and made water from solar stills. Sharks circled, storms battered his raft, and salt sores covered his body. Every day was a test of patience and willpower. Yet he kept a routine, logging his days, rationing food, and keeping hope alive. The mental struggle was as fierce as the physical one. Stephen wrote what could have been his epitaph, talking to himself to stay sane. He faced despair, fear, and loneliness, yet refused to give in. Each day, he reminded himself, survival is the only option. On day 76, a flock of birds began circling unusually close. Stephen realized land must be near. With every ounce of energy, he signaled flares and waved. Finally, 2 fishermen noticed him, emaciated, sunburned, and weak, but alive. Rescue had come at last. Stephen Callahan survived 76 days lost at sea, a miracle of endurance and human will. He chronicled his ordeal in Adrift, 76 days lost at sea, inspiring countless readers and adventurers. His story is a testament to courage, ingenuity, and determination against impossible odds. The Girl Who Fell from the Sky, Juliane Köpke. Imagine falling 10,000 feet from the sky, strapped to your airplane seat, into the heart of the Amazon rainforest. This is the true story of Juliane Köpke, a 17-year-old girl who survived a plane crash and walked alone through the jungle for 11 days. On Christmas Eve 1971, Juliane boarded Lancer Flight 508 with her mother, returning home after graduation. The flight began like any other, but as the plane crossed the Amazon rainforest, a violent thunderstorm struck without warning. Lightning struck the plane, tearing it apart mid-air. Juliane, still strapped in her seat, plummeted over 10,000 feet into the dense jungle below. Miraculously, she survived, cushioned by the thick canopy of trees. She woke up alone in the Amazon, injured, broken collarbone, cuts, swollen eye, and a concussion. Her glasses were gone, one shoe lost, and the forest around her seemed endless. Out of 92 passengers and crew, she was the sole survivor. With almost nothing to survive on, Juliane used skills taught by her zoologist parents. She crawled toward a small stream, hoping it would lead to a river. She endured mosquito swarms, dangerous terrain, and deep wounds. Some of her wounds became infected, attracting maggots. Using gasoline she found in an abandoned hut, she carefully cleaned them. Every day was a fight against infection, hunger, and exhaustion. On the 10th day, she spotted a hut and a small boat, a glimmer of hope. The next morning she heard voices and saw 3 lumberjacks. At first they were scared, thinking she might be a spirit. But she was real, alive and desperate for help. She was taken to the hospital and reunited with her father. Her mother did not survive. Julianne later became a mammologist, specializing in bats, and shared her story worldwide. A testament to courage, determination, and survival against impossible odds. Julianne Kupka's story is one of the most incredible survival tales ever. A girl who fell from the sky and walked alone through the deadliest jungle on Earth, never giving up hope. The man who was swallowed by a whale, Michael Packard. Imagine being swallowed by a whale, alive, and surviving to tell the story. In June 2021, Michael Packard experienced a once-in-a-lifetime ordeal that sounds like a scene from a Hollywood movie, but it really happened. Michael Packard was diving off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts like any other day, hunting for lobsters. The sun was shining, the water calm, and everything seemed ordinary, until the unexpected happened. Suddenly, Michael felt a huge force behind him. Before he could react, he was inside the mouth of a humpback whale. Darkness surrounded him, and he realized he might not get out alive. The whale's mouth was huge, filled with baleen plates and slippery saliva. Every second felt like an eternity. Michael struggled, panicked, and tried to push against the slippery walls. Water filled his mask, and the whale's jaw seemed to tighten. It was a battle for survival. Trapped in darkness, helpless, wondering if this would be his last moment. And then, suddenly, the whale surfaced. With a powerful flick of its head, Michael was spat out into the water. He gasped, alive, soaked and shaking. The ocean around him calm again, as if nothing had happened. Michael survived the unbelievable incident with only minor injuries. Scrapes, a little bruising, and an unforgettable story that stunned the world. His experience reminds us that truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. Being swallowed by a whale is a story you might think is impossible. But for Michael Packard, it was real. A reminder that the ocean is full of surprises, and survival can sometimes come in the most unexpected ways. The Andes flight disaster. Surviving 72 days in the mountains. Imagine surviving 72 days stranded in the freezing Andes Mountains, with no food, freezing nights, and almost no hope. This is the unbelievable true story of the Uruguayan rugby team. A story so strange it seems impossible, yet it really happened. On October 13, 1972, Flight 571 departed Montevideo, Uruguay, carrying 45 passengers, including the Old Christians rugby team and their friends and family. Everyone expected a routine flight, but the Andes Mountains awaited. The plane hit low visibility and turbulence, crashing into a snowy mountain slope. The fuselage split, and many passengers died instantly. Those who survived were left in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Freezing temperatures, thin air, and endless snow. Hours turned into days. Survivors had very little food, some chocolate, wine, and bits of beef. They endured freezing nights, avalanches, and the harsh wind that seemed determined to freeze them alive. After 2 weeks, hunger became unbearable. The survivors faced a horrifying decision: eat the bodies of those who had died to stay alive. It was a choice no human ever imagines making, but they chose survival. After more than 2 months, Fernando Parrado and Roberto Canessa made a daring trek across the mountains to find help. With no gear, extreme cold and treacherous terrain, every step could be their last. For days, they climbed and descended, driven only by hope and desperation. Finally, they encountered a Chilean cowboy, Sergio Catalan, who brought help. Helicopters located the crash site, and all 14 remaining survivors were rescued. Against all odds, they had survived 72 days in one of the deadliest places on Earth. The Andes flight disaster is a story of courage, endurance, and survival beyond imagination. It reminds us that humans can endure the most extreme conditions and find hope where none seems possible. Which of these unbelievable true stories shocked you the most? Comment below and let us know. If you loved surviving these close calls with our heroes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We've got even more spine-chilling stories coming your way. Stay curious, stay brave, and we'll see you in the next adventure.